Let's go back into the past, because you were very famous for being, advocating talks with Sinn Féin at a time when it was deeply unpopular. Are you someone who's happy to be, if you like, let's say in the wilderness, against the entire mainstream?
I love being a member of Parliament, and I love the opportunities to raise things, sometimes difficult issues. And I always felt, from the time I was elected onwards, the only way you were ever going to make progress in Northern Ireland was if you spoke to Sinn Féin and actually had serious negotiations. I maintained a relationship with Sinn Féin all through the 1980s, during the broadcasting ban, the travel ban, and everything else. And I got utterly pilloried by just about everybody for it, except the people of Islington North.
Right. And obviously you don't have any regrets about it now.
Not at all.
No. Let's talk about whether the left can ever win an election. Let's say in England, let's exclude Scotland for the minute. Given the general election result, people just think you are never going to be able to make a left-wing pitch to the English.
Well, Labour put on about 1 million votes in England between 2010 and 2015 in this election. We obviously didn't win the election. We lost some constituencies very narrowly. We failed to gain others, all those kind of issues. I think one of the problems in the election was there wasn't enough difference between the parties. Ed Miliband did very well on zero-hours contracts, did very well on rights at work. Those issues, brilliant. The problem was that underneath it, the party was actually offering austerity light for the next 5 years. So we either get austerity heavy or austerity light. Local government was still going to be cut.
But if people don't like austerity, which I think is your thesis, why would they vote for austerity heavy? Why wouldn't they vote for austerity light? This is the basic problem with saying we weren't left-wing enough. If the country votes for a right-wing government.
Well, some people went off and, in despair, perhaps, went off and voted for UKIP, believing it was some kind of anti-establishment party. Some voted Green on the basis it was anti-austerity.
UKIP is a more right-wing vote, isn't it? Essentially, Conservatives and UKIP got half the total vote. Labour, SNP, Greens, they didn't get as much as Conservative and UKIP.
UKIP is a devil-may-care vote. It's also motivated to some extent by racism within it. Now, had Labour, in my view, been a lot clearer about what we're going to achieve in 5 years' time, what we could do in local government, what we could do in health. I just think we weren't clear enough about what is austerity. Because what is austerity really about? It's about reconfiguring our society in the mirror of the wealthier getting wealthier, the poorest getting poorer. Why are 1 million people using food banks? Why are there so many people sleeping on the streets? Why are there so many people begging? Why are we now debating cutting benefits still further, knowing full well the devastating effect that will have on the poorest people?
But your pitch is you've got to get people voting for your party. You're going to need to get some of those UKIP voters back, who incidentally you've just asserted are racist in some cases.
In some cases, yeah.
But they're not. But I just wonder whether their the UKIP pitch is nothing like the one you want, and I just wonder why people would vote for UKIP if they want more of what you're advocating.
People were very confused to some extent in the election as to what was actually on offer. A lot of the stuff in the Labour manifesto was actually very good. I agreed with it, most of it. The problem was that the fundamental economic strategy was not that different to what the Conservatives were offering. And I think we need to say why we're against austerity and what austerity is actually doing to people in this country. It is enriching the very richest.
Let's take some some litmus test questions, if you like, of where you stand on issues. The royal family, first of all, because in some ways, of course, it's an anachronism to have in a meritocratic society, but it is an enormously popular institution and people feel very loyal towards it. Where are you on the royal family?
Well, I don't know any of them personally. I'm sure they're very nice people.
As an institution?
Oh, as an institution, I am basically somebody that would want us to be a republic, but I recognise that it is not the major political issue. Right. The majority of people are content or whatever with the situation we've got.
Don't fight that battle.
It's not a battle that I'm fighting.
How big would you like the state to be? So, many people sort of think when the size of the state as a proportion of national income starts, that the tax take gets to 50% of national income. It's getting really dangerous. We're about 40 now. Would you worry if it got to 50%?
Roy Jenkins used to say that was a disaster for democracy when it went over 50%, and he set up the SDP, which of course did a lot of damage to Labour in setting that up. I don't see that as a problem because
60%?
No, I mean, you put figures. Do you go 50, 60, 70, 40, 30?
No, got my question.
Was that your next question? I don't quite see that as the problem. Surely the issue is, what is the role of the state? The role of the state in running public services, the role of the state in providing sufficient infrastructure and all those kind of issues. Also, the role of the state in investing in people, in education, in childcare, in benefit system, all those things which actually provides for a vibrant economy. Our problem is we don't do any of these things properly.
Would the middle class, people, let's call them the median voter, people in the middle of the income spectrum,
Okay.
not the rich, do you think under a Corbyn government they would be paying more tax?
If they were earning over 50,000 a year, perhaps a bit more. If they're earning over 100,000 a year, quite a lot
Right.
more. The issue
No,
has to be...
But you know that the median income is way below 50,000 a year. So
Indeed.
I'm interested in
The
whether your
median-
pitch is...
The median income is way below that.
Yeah, it's like half that.
I would
So
not
the
see them
pitch
paying
is-
more tax.
The question is, are you saying that you can do all you want to do without ordinary people actually having to pay any more tax?
Look, there's 2 points
Is that really
here.
honest?
One is we spend £11 billion a year in subsidising low wages through in-work benefits. So if we had a proper wages policy of, i.e. a higher living wage, a proper living wage, that would help. If we close down some of the tax havens, Channel Islands, Isle of Man, Monaco, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg.
Do you think that can do it? You
Yes,
think that can-
all that can help a great deal. But also, you start
It's just
to...
whether you need
if
to be
people have got-
honest or to people, look, if we're going to have the state you want, you really are going to have to pay more tax, which Labour,
Yeah.
of course, has not wanted to say
Well,
since Tony Blair.
I think you have to say that. If you want a good health service, if you want a good education service, if you want an effective infrastructure in all parts of the country, not just London and the South East, yeah, sure it costs, but we all benefit as a result of that. There's something deeply unpleasant about a society going forward knowing that in 5 years' time there's going to be more poverty, more homelessness, more destitution. Is that right, or is it necessary?